Well, hello there, girlfriend. Ingafay here. Super excited to be with you today. For those of you that don't know me, I am a confidence coach for coaches, authors, speakers, and home based business owners. And I am super excited to share one of my coaching girlfriends with you, Sherri. Sherri is living her bucket list now, y'all. She has sold her home, many of her possessions to travel the world, and she's taken her coaching and consulting business with her, and she has never looked back. So I am super excited to share her with you today, and we will see you inside. What's up, Sherri girl?
Oh, I'm not much. I'm just so excited to be here, Ingafay.
Yes, I am so excited to have you, girl. So tell us a little bit more about you, how you did this bucket list thing. You know, most of us talk about this, but we never actually do it. We want to know how we can live our bucket list now. So tell us how you did that, who you serve, and how you serve them.
Yeah, I would be happy to do this. Well, I have been in this crazy world of being an entrepreneur for 22 years. It doesn't seem possible. And during that time, I've had, of course, a lot of different versions of my business. But it was about 6 years ago, a little more than that now, I think, that I had that proverbial knock upside the head moment where have you ever had one of those? Like once
Yeah,
you see it, you can't unsee it. And
right.
I realized that while I had a successful business, I wasn't living the lifestyle that I really wanted to live. And it was painful, quite honestly, because
Hmm,
I teach starting with your vision in my work I do with my clients. I
right.
teach them to start with their vision for their life and then build a business that fits into it. And here I kind of created a business that didn't.
Hmm,
And so I put my stake in the ground, and within 6 months, I'd sold my home, put my stuff in storage, completely changed the marketing on my business,
wow.
and was traveling about 9 months of the year internationally, taking my business with me. And I haven't looked back, as you said in the opening.
Well, that is awesome, girl. I guess that I'm sure that made you feel good to really authentically do what you are telling others that they can do too.
Exactly. Yeah, it was a pretty pivotal moment for me because I built a very successful business, but I was doing primarily live speaking and live networking.
Hmm.
And so if I left for 3 months to go to Europe or something, my leads would dry up because I didn't
Right.
have that consistent flow of leads that weren't dependent on me being there, quote unquote.
I wanted to ask you what makes you passionate about living your bucket list now?
Well, really, it's my whole story. I know that when you have a gift to share
Hmm.
and you want to turn that gift into a business, there
Yeah.
is no better way on earth to do that than to create a business that gives you that flexibility to make the impact you want to make, but do it in a way that allows you to live the lifestyle that you want to live. And way too many times I have seen entrepreneurs back themselves into a business where they just lost the passion for what they were doing, and
Yeah.
that breaks my heart. And a lot of it is because they aren't clear on what they want their lifestyle to look like,
Hmm.
so they end up using marketing strategies that aren't necessarily the right ones to be
Hmm.
able to build the businesses they really want to live. And if I can get entrepreneurs to get out of the someday I will and actually create a business that allows them to do whatever it is that is their bucket list. It doesn't have to be traveling. That's just my bucket list.
Right.
Whatever their bucket list is, supporting them to build a business that allows them to do that, then I feel like I'm making the difference I was here to make.
Awesome. Yeah, because oftentimes that's the dream of entrepreneurship. You're able to do things when you want, with who you want, and where you want. And if you're not
Exactly.
truly walking that out, yeah, I would get kind of upset about that too, because that's the dream of entrepreneurship. You're leaving that corporate life where everybody is telling you what to do and when to do it. And you're actually creating this life of flexibility where you can actually walk it out yourself and be
Exactly.
the
And
captain of
yeah,
your
and
own
too many
vessel.
times it becomes that anchor around your foot
Yes.
that you're carrying it around, and your business actually stops you from living the life that you want to live. And that's not what any of us want.
Yes, I totally agree. So when it comes down to living this dream life, what is one of the most important things you must do to build your business that allows you to have that freedom and flexibility
Yeah.
that you're describing?
Well, for me, it all starts with vision.
Mm,
And when you get clear on what you want your life to look like, and I'm talking all areas of your life here, not just the business side of your life, but what do you want
right.
your health to look like, your relationships to look like, your environment, where you're spending time, where you're living, what a typical day looks like.
Right.
And then what's the wealth that you want to create and the money you want to make from your business? And what do you want your business to look like so that it fits into that lifestyle? When you get
Exactly.
crystal clear on that, then you've got a solid foundation from which to build your business so that it delivers on that lifestyle. And too many people do it the opposite. They kind of let their business go where it goes, accidentally in a lot of cases, and they end up having a business that takes over their life versus actually fitting into their life.
So I'm curious, why do you think people just allow it to do that? Why do they basically, it sounds like people want a certain product or service that they may provide, and based on the number of people that are asking for that, they may feel the need to do that. Was like, oh, it must be some money here. Is it kind of that kind of situation, or is it something else?
Sometimes it's that. Sometimes it's simply that they know they want to start a business, so they go to the least common denominator. I'm going to say that. Once worked with a client that was a language tutor,
Hmm.
and she was working for a tutoring company.
Mm-hmm.
So she decided she wanted to build her own business because she wanted the freedom and flexibility. But what
Right.
did she do? She recreated her job in her
Ah,
business. So
okay.
pretty soon she's working nights and weekends serving high school and college students and hating life because now she had this business, and sure, she wasn't working for somebody else, but it basically she bought herself a job. And
Ah,
so she didn't start with getting clear on the lifestyle she wanted to live. And when we did that working together, she actually completely changed her target, started working with executives that were tapped to work overseas, and
mm-hmm.
they needed to learn the language quickly. So she worked with them in immersion language programs to learn the language so they could go overseas and be successful. And of course, they were willing to pay her a whole lot more than a college student or a high school student.
Right.
And they wanted to do it 9 to 5. So she was able to
Ah,
build the business that allowed her to do what she wanted to do, which was travel and not work nights and weekends and make
right.
more money. She actually more than doubled her income.
Right.
Um, and when she really started from her vision first and then built her business.
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, because I think about the tribe that I serve. For the most part, we're direct sellers
Mhm.
and network marketers. But for the most part, when I think of a direct seller, I still kind of think of someone like you were just describing, because they're direct selling their service. It's a service that they
Yes.
provide. They may not have a company name that they're affiliated with outside of their own, but it's still the same kind of thing where they have to find the client, find those leads, find those prospects that they want to serve, and then be able to serve them a product and then build that lifestyle like you
Mhm.
just described, that they are have always dreamed about, that gives
Right.
them that freedom and flexibility. Tell us
Yeah.
tell us a
And
little bit more about that.
well, yeah, I mean, what you just said, 100% right on. And if their vision for their life is that they want to be a mom, a full-time mom, and only have business between 9 and 3 so that they could be a mom before school and after school and nights and
Right.
weekends,
Right.
then they need to build their network marketing business just like any other business, so that the marketing strategies that they use are between that 9 to 3, and that's maybe a more virtual strategy
Right.
or speaking or whatever it might be that fits into that lifestyle. It's
Right.
not having an evening meeting 3 times a week, which a
Exactly.
lot of network marketers can fall into that trap, right?
Right. Right.
So it's so easy to do it. I mean, look at me. I had been in business for what, 15 years or over 15 years at the time, and I had subconsciously built myself into a business that wasn't allowing me to live the lifestyle I wanted to live. And so it's so easy to not see it happening,
Yeah.
and really you need to be conscious about it at all times. I do a vision letter process every year. I update it as part of my planning process
Mm-hmm.
on what I want to have happen in the next year,
Mm-hmm.
and that helps me get really clear on when everything has happened that I want to have happened in the next year, what's life going to be like?
Right.
And then I can build my strategies around that vision.
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, so it's almost planning your activities with the end in mind, the end being that ultimate dream life that you actually want, not necessarily just not having a boss. Because, I mean, if you don't plan it right, essentially you will have a boss. It will be your clients instead of just one person. You will have more than one person that you're actually serving because you didn't set it up the way you would like it to set up initially.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Exactly. And even more so, you just bought yourself a job that you're
Right.
probably getting paid less for.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally agree, because you're putting more time and effort in the job than what you were doing before. Because when you were working in corporate, you were probably going in at 8 or 9 o'clock and
Yeah.
leaving at 5. But when you have your own gig,
Yeah.
you're pretty much doing everything if you haven't
Right.
set it up correctly. So yeah, you are working
Yeah.
a whole lot harder. So
Yeah.
let's
And I
let's
call that the business of running a business. And that's what kills so many entrepreneurs, because
oh
they got
yeah,
in business because they wanted to share their gift.
right,
And then there's all this stuff we have to do as an entrepreneur.
exactly.
So yeah, absolutely. You're right on.
Yes. So, what causes entrepreneurs to stay stuck in the feast and famine cycle of generating leads for their business? Because
Yeah.
that is the lifeline of any business, really.
It is. And so many entrepreneurs, and I'm network marketers, entrepreneurs, we get into that cycle where we busily go out and market and
Right.
find new recruits or new clients.
Right.
And then we busily go out and kind of serve them, and we stop our marketing efforts. And then we
Yep.
put our head up and we realize, oh, we stopped our marketing. So now we don't have any new income coming in.
Yep.
And that's what causes that feast or famine or
Cycle.
that up and down cycle.
Mhm.
And the two biggest things that I see that lead to that cycle are inconsistency and overwhelm.
Mm.
And I truly believe that inconsistency is what causes a lot of the overwhelm. Because what happens is, so many times we know we need to market ourselves and our business,
Right.
but we don't really get clear on the right strategies to do that.
Mhm.
So we do what I call throwing marketing spaghetti against the wall.
Oh yeah.
And
Mhm.
we're doing a little of this and a little of that and a little of something else. And we're not really doing any of it consistently or giving it enough time, going deep enough to make sure that all the pieces and parts to make the strategy work are in place. And we're off. It's like, oh, well, I didn't get any clients for that, so I'm going to go try to do something else.
Right.
And that inconsistency causes the overwhelm, because we already talked about there's so much to do as an entrepreneur. And you probably, unless you're an accountant, you probably didn't get into business to do your bookkeeping, right?
Exactly.
You have to do it. Somebody has to do it as an entrepreneur.
Yep.
So all of these things build up in the overwhelm. But if we just get consistent about what we're implementing in our business, the overwhelm will automatically almost take care of itself. But those are the two biggest enemies: inconsistency and overwhelm.
Interesting. Now, I am a very strong, I believe in consistency. I think consistency is the key to success when it comes to many of things, because I think we have a tendency to get so caught up in different things. Now, I'm curious. You said we don't give it enough time. So I know from my experience, I feel like when I do something new, I need to give it at least a 90-day spin to
Yes.
really see if it works or if it doesn't work, or if I need to tweak. Or I don't necessarily wait the full 90 days to tweak. I'll probably tweak as I go along, but I'm not one of those people that say, oh, I'm gonna do it for a week and just see, because a week is not long enough.
Yes.
So I'm curious, how much time do you recommend to your clients they should give when they make a change?
It does depend a little bit on the strategy and how complicated it is to create and implement.
Mhm.
But generally, I think your 90 days is about right.
Mhm.
Most times when we're putting something new in place, there's upfront work that needs to be done.
Right.
Then we go into, call it almost like the beta launch of it.
Yep.
We get feedback,
Yep.
and then we need to tweak. So then we're kind of maybe into month 2. And then by month 3, we're starting to see, oh yeah, that works, or I'm not getting any traction with this. And maybe we even say, you know what, I really hate doing this.
Right.
And that's one of the criteria I use for marketing strategies is, if you don't love doing it, stop doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Because your energy is going to get all over it. You're probably not going to be successful. And in 90 days, you can get a feel for, yeah, this is something that I can see myself really committing to, sticking with month in and month out, and creating a consistent flow of leads.
Awesome. So how would you recommend that people choose their marketing strategies to create that consistency? I guess we kind of briefly talked about that just now, but I'm just curious.
Yeah, I think we have talked about a lot of it. Start with your vision, because the strategies you choose have to fit into the lifestyle you want to create. Keep it simple. That's a big one. I always say no more than 3 marketing strategies that you want to create, that you want to implement, because more than that, and you probably are not going to be the third point, which is consistency.
Right.
So keep it simple, start with no more than 3 strategies, implement them consistently. And then the fourth thing that I find is really critical is bulletproofing your follow-up system. And whatever strategy you have in place, the goal for most of us is to get a call on the calendar, some kind of a meeting, a coffee, a consult call. In the service-based business with the network marketing folks, most of the time we want to talk to people, right?
Oh yeah.
So how are you going to follow up with them? How are you going to get them on the call? And then how are you going to follow up with them after the call is so important. And there's all those phrases out there. The future is in the follow-up.
Right.
They're true, because if you go to a networking event and you meet great people, but you never follow up with them, you might as well have saved your time.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So those 4 keys: start with your vision, choose marketing strategies that fit in with your vision, keep it simple, no more than 3 strategies, be consistent in implementing them, and then bulletproof your follow-up system. Those are the 4 probably biggest tips I would give you.
Awesome. Now, I know that a thing that kind of hangs people up is the vision piece. And you have reiterated that you said that several times while we've talked today. And why do you think that's such a hang up for people to have that vision? They're ready just to go do it before they even have the plan of how they're going to do it.
Yeah. I believe that a lot of it is that we have lost our ability to dream. And there's a lot of factors. I believe that this was happening before the pandemic, but the pandemic has exacerbated everything. And the last 2.5 years, let's face it, it's been tough.
It has.
And in so many different ways. And I think during particularly this time, a lot of us have gone kind of into maintain mode. And we've really lost our passion for believing in what's possible and giving yourself freedom to, take a journal and go out in nature. At least I find that's the best place to do it, and really sit down and think about, it is now insert date 1 year from right now.
Right.
And I am, or I have, and start writing. And just doesn't have to be even writing full sentences. It could be just notes of things that you want to have, if you will, a year from now, and allow yourself to think big, to dream big. And we just don't give ourselves the space to do it. So part of it is just scheduling it. And put on your calendar, 2 hours next Friday afternoon, I'm going to the park, and I'm going to allow myself the capability, the space to just dream.
Right.
The other thing that I think happens is that a little bit of imposter syndrome can creep in.
Yep.
So we want, quote unquote, to think big, and we don't know how we're going to get there.
Right.
So we resist putting it out there. And, I don't know, your kind of philosophy, if you will. I definitely believe in the universe and a bigger power, whatever you want to call it, that gives us what we need when we need it.
Yep.
But that bigger power needs to know what it is we want. So if we're just kind of floating along, then the universe is going to say, well, they must be okay. You're not asking for anything. So that working that ask muscle of learning to ask for what we want can be a small starting point. Maybe it's, maybe you're in a job right now and you're starting your network marketing business on the side. I know that happens a lot, on that side hustle, if you will. Well, maybe it's having the courage to say to your current employer, I want to go to 4 days a week and work 10-hour days and have Fridays off. Or maybe it's asking your spouse or your family for something in support of your business, so that you can grow the side hustle. Whatever that looks like, give yourself permission to dream bigger, to think bigger, and to ask for what you want. And that make all the difference.
That was powerful. Thank you for sharing that. I think that is part of what a lot of people, I mean, even including me, have gone through when it comes down to walking our dream out. What
Yes.
do we truly want? And I tell people all the time that I work with that it's not the how. You don't have to worry about the how. You just have to put it out there.
Yep.
And as you mentioned, the steps will be given to you. And what I've come to realize in my journey of entrepreneurship is that, and I'm a Christian, so I'm just going to say the Holy Spirit, God, when it comes to me doing something and I pray about it and I ask for it, I'm given a step,
Mm-hmm.
but I have to take that step to get the
Yes.
next step. And I
Yeah.
think so many times people get caught up in wanting to see the full staircase
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
more so than just taking the step that is given and knowing that the next step will come after.
Will appear. Yep.
Yeah, because you think about it. Well, I'll say it this way: the way I was raised, I was taught you need to go to school and get your degree, and then after you get your degree, you need to work for XYZ company for 30 plus years.
Yep.
And after you work there for 30 plus years, you're going to retire and get your gold watch.
Uh-huh. Yep.
So you
Yep.
have that staircase.
And then your life can start, right?
Exactly. And then your life can start. And exactly.
Yeah.
And that goes back to I'm thinking of a sermon that I was listening to where saying that life is not too short. It's just that we are just waiting. We constantly are waiting for something to happen. And because we're waiting for something to happen, we don't walk life out as we should, because we're fighting against the flow of what the next step should be, because we're waiting to complete another step, when more so we should just go with the flow. Tell me your thoughts about that.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. Sometimes I call that next weeking yourself to death.
Yes.
So it was always a next week, right? So if I'm going to commit to, if I'm working my business as a side hustle, and I'm going to commit to spending 7 to 10 hours a week, let's say, on that business,
right?
And I said, well, next week I'm really going to do it. Next week I'm going to spend my 10 hours on my business. Well, then next week comes in, it's like, well, okay, next week I'm really going to spend. So we can get into that trap of where there's always a next week.
Right.
And honestly, life is about now.
Exactly.
Life is about what are you doing today to move yourself towards your vision.
Yep.
And it may be the smallest step possible, but every small step adds up to big steps.
Right.
And I use with my clients, I use something called the results planner. And if you're a list maker, you love it. If you're not, you probably wouldn't. But basically, it's a 3x3x3 grid of your top 3 overall priorities, your top 3 projects within that priority, and the top 3 action steps for each of those 3 projects. So it's 3 priorities, 3 projects, 3 action steps. And I always tell my clients when they get into that overwhelm, because overwhelm is a reality for us, and just in life, let alone in business. When you get into that overwhelm, just take the deep breath and settle yourself, get yourself grounded, and look at that piece of paper and choose one action you can take right now.
Right.
And if you do that every time you find yourself in that space, you'll be amazed at the progress you make, because those steps that you take move you forward, keep you in momentum, because momentum is a beautiful thing.
Yes.
And then keep you moving towards that goal. But you have to get clear on what those priorities, projects, and action steps are, right?
Right.
And that's the structure that a lot of people never get to, and it causes an issue for them, because they don't know what to do when they're overwhelmed.
Right. Yeah, and I would totally agree that people dream. They dream about what they want, but the action is what gets them there.
Yeah.
And oftentimes some people get so caught up in the dream itself that they don't even think through, well, what can I do to get closer to that?
Yeah. And that is where getting support is important. Having accountability partners, having a coach or someone who has done what you want to do can be so valuable, because they can see the shortcuts. They know what you're going through. And it can be invaluable just in making the progress that you want to make, whatever you're looking to do.
Exactly. Well, it has been a pleasure chatting with you here, Sherri.
Yeah.
I would love to know do you have any final thoughts before we close this out today?
Yeah. My final thought would be allow yourself to be the gift that you are
Hmm.
and show up in the world, the powerful, empowered woman. I guess I'll speak to the women out there
Yep.
that you are, and allow yourself to know and to stand in the possibility that you can be that powerful change maker and live the life that you want to live. It's
Hmm.
not an either or. You get to
Right.
have both.
So, Sherri, tell us a little bit more about the freebie we talked about. I know you wanted to share something with my audience today.
Absolutely. I work with a lot of entrepreneurs, and most of us are wanting to get people on a some kind of a call. We get our clients by talking to people, right? By getting on
Right.
Zoom or whatever it might be. But the question I get most often is, I know I need to do this, but how do I actually get people on my calendar? So I
Mm-hmm.
created a free gift called 17 Easy Ways to Fill Your Calendar with Potential Clients. And
Okay.
it is just that. It's a resource for you to use of ways that I have discovered over 22 years of doing this, that you can get people to set up a call with you so you can turn them into collaboration partners, referral partners, and yes, new clients.
Right.
Now, the one thing I want to tell you is that I do not recommend you go out and implement all 17 of these. We talked about that today, right? The idea is for you to pick some of the suggestions on the list and implement them, no more than 3 to start. Now you can implement, there's a few of these on the list that you can implement in 10, 15 minutes. So go ahead and do those first so you can knock them off the list, and then maybe do some of the others that take a little bit more time. The
Okay.
goal is to fill your calendar so you can talk to people, create those partnerships and those new clients that you want so you can live your bucket list now.
Awesome. Well, that is a great way to end this. I'm so excited that you shared with us today. I know that the folks that are watching got a lot out of what you shared today. I know I did. So thank you again for coming out and sharing your information with my tribe. And for those of you that are watching, if you know of anyone you would love for me to interview, I'm very open to interviewing different people that will actually serve our community, direct sellers, network marketers, coaches, and authors. We want to make sure that you guys are building the business your way and walking out your bucket list now instead of waiting. And as always, thanks for watching, and bye for now.